Hi, I'm Bergen Eickhoff, and welcome to Sunday School Round 2. Today we're going to introduce the topic of our first series of videos, Reading the Bible Through the Lens of Empire. In the academic world, it's called Imperial-Critical Biblical Interpretation, which is a mouthful and really should have an acronym, but I don't think that I have the authority to make one up. So today we're going to be talking about how to read the Bible through the lens of empire by learning about postcolonialism, empire's role in the Bible and in Christianity, and the basics of imperial-critical interpretation. See, it's already such a mouthful, we really just need better acronyms in religious studies. Let's begin by talking about how we define empire through postcolonialism. In this episode, I'm primarily drawing upon the work of R.S. Sugirtharaja and Musa W. Dube. It shouldn't be a mystery to any of us at this point that for the past 500 years, Western European countries, and America along with them, have kind of messed up the entire globe. And by kind of, I mean absolutely, and by messed up, I mean ruined it. They accomplished this mess by practicing colonialism, a political, economic, social, and religious system that colonizing countries claimed gave them the right to conquer other countries and extract their resources to be shipped back to their home country for consumption and profit. It was massively successful at what it set out to do and led to the development of chattel slavery, capitalism, modern corporations, systemic racism, prejudice, and the globalization of sugar, spices, and tons of other commodities. But then, after World War II, these Western European empires dissolved, and many formerly colonized countries gained independence and self-government. But not everything got better due to the exploited resources, ruined land, economic dependency, and the deep prejudice that empires had left behind in their wake. So in this post-colonial era, a number of academics emerged to analyze the effects of empire upon those that they colonized through the study of literature, religion, sociology, and economics, including globalization, a modern form of colonialism. So two of the most prominent founders of post-colonial theory were Edward Said, whose groundbreaking essay Orientalism critiqued the use of binary differences to promote prejudice for the sake of gaining power and exploitation, and Frantz Fanon, who observed how the psychology of imperialism and racism required those oppressed by those systems to decolonize their minds from imperial values. So from this post-colonial standpoint, we will define empire as a system of power that relies upon extraction and exploitation and prejudice to produce their desired good. The desired good might be product, it might be profit or power or peace and stability, but if this desired good is achieved through exploitation and extraction of land or people, usually with a fine helping of prejudice along the way, it's an empire. But what does it mean to say that the Bible is a product of empire? Well, it's acknowledging that like everything written in the past 500 years, the Bible was composed during a time of imperial rule or occupation. At the very least, every book of the Bible is written during a time when the Israelites or Hebrew people were in some form of relationship with empire. For example, in the book of Exodus, the Israelites are slaves of the Egyptian empire. That's going to influence how the book is written and why that book is very critical of the idea of empire. Though in later Old Testament books like 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles, the texts present a form of Israelite empire under David, Solomon, and their descendants. Even later, the Bible testifies to how the Israelites were conquered by the Assyrian Empire, and then by the Babylonians, and then by the Persians, and the Greeks, and finally the Roman Empire in the New Testament. So all parts of the Bible are composed either while Israel was occupied by empire or had a relationship with empire. Sometimes that relationship was negative, like slavery under Egypt or the Babylonian captivity. Other times it's more positive, such as discussion of life under the possibly more benevolent Persian Empire, though that is very much debated, or under the Israelite Empire. We examine this relationship to empire on a wide spectrum ranging from anti-empire resistance to accommodation in the middle and then pro-empire texts as well. However, imperial criticism is also the acknowledgement that the Bible has been used and interpreted through an imperial worldview for most of its existence. Much of what we have been taught about the Bible has come from systems of thought that are comfortable or maybe are even actively promoting imperial values. While the Bible may have originated in a group of oppressed and colonized people, the majority of Christianity, ever since Constantine made Christianity the state religion of Rome, has seen Christianity being used by a church that is very comfortable in its relationship to empire. So reading the Bible with an imperial-critical approach means acknowledging the role of empire and how the Bible both was created and also how it's interpreted from the past and into today. The Botswanan theologian Musa W. Dube advocates for a post-colonial feminist approach to reading the Bible through the lens of empire that focuses on analyzing the depiction of God, glory, gold, and gender in each text. These are the primary tools that she claims empires use to justify their right to conquest and how decolonizing texts oppose such conquest. So in the case of God, we ask, how does this text use God or religion to justify conquest, control, or exploitation? Or how does this text use God to oppose imperial conquest or exploitation? With glory, we ask how the text assigns glory to characters, systems, institution, or powers. Is glory given to those who conquer, exploit, or rule through might, conquest, or triumph? Or is glory given to the oppressed, and how do they attain it? With gold, we ask who the text tells us is deserving of gold or money. Is it an imperial economy focused on extraction and allocation, lifted up as the right way to organize society? Or is gold delivered to those who produce it and have a land right to it? Finally, with gender, we recognize that the gender binary that lifts up masculinity and punishes anything non-masculine has always been essential to maintaining imperial structures. So when reading the Bible, we ask, how does this text support or oppose a patriarchal heteronormative gender binary? And how does it suggest that men, women, and everything outside and in between ought to live their daily lives? To simplify, Dr. Dube puts forward these 4 questions to every ancient text written in the shadow of empire. Does the text have a clear stance against the political imperialism of its time? Second, does this text encourage travel to distant and inhabited lands? And if so, how does it justify itself? 3, how does this text construct difference through dialogue and mutual interdependence, or through condemnation and replacement of all that is foreign? And 4th, does this text employ gender representations to constant relationships of subordination and domination? By asking these questions of every text in the Bible, we can gain a better sense of how and why the text was written in response to the reality of empire. We can gain a better appreciation for how much of the Bible was composed by people living under imperial oppression and dismantle the standard pro-empire reading that many of us were taught and discover a much more complicated, meaning-making faith project hiding underneath the Gospels and the texts of the Bible. In the next 4 videos, with the help of some theologians, we'll practice what we've learned by performing an imperial-critical analysis of the Christmas texts from each of the 4 Gospels to uncover the role of empire in shaping our introduction to Jesus Christ. In each video, we'll encounter different resistance strategies at play within the Gospels and explore how the texts support empires in other ways. In the description of each video, I will challenge you to follow Dr. Dube's guidance in answering where God, glory, gold, and gender are at play in the text. So say all the Merry Christmases and peaces on earth that you can for now, because we're about to complicate this holiday season. Thanks for watching. See you next video.